everybody, and welcome back to the F1 Esports Series Pro Championship 2022. It is day 2. Week number 1 of this brand new championship, and welcome back to the qualifying show. If you missed yesterday, you missed some amazing action we had round Bahrain. Today, we have Imola, and also today, we have some brand new faces on the show. I want to introduce you to at least one of them right now. Mr. Hayden Gullis and Tom Deacon returns once again. First and foremost, Hayden, welcome to the show. And I think a lot of people are probably wondering, how comfortable actually is that sofa?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. And you know what? They're actually really comfy. I'm sure I'm going to get bored of these sofas eventually, but I'm enjoying it for now.
Very confident he's coming back, isn't he? Straight away.
Yeah,
he's going to get bored of the sofa.
I've moulded in.
And before anyone says anything, yes, I've gone double denim. Controversial, but straight after the quali show, I've got a line dancing class to get to. So just thought I'd chip in early doors there.
So yesterday you roasted me for my clothing. Now you're just doing self-roast.
Yeah, self-roast. That's what I'm doing. But it's great to be back, mate. How good was yesterday?
Yesterday was incredible. Of course, you were watching at home, watching the stream. Hayden, how did you find all the action unfolding yesterday around Bahrain?
Same F1 Esports style. Everything is just really close. The drivers separated by, hairs in between them. And the change of the order with these new regulations, we're seeing a few new names pop up there. Really exciting.
And Tom, you love to see Lucas Blakely at the top. You've spent a lot of time with him. His interviews usually take 3 to 4 days.
Blimey. All I could hear in my ear last night was, guys, we do have to wrap up. One question lasted a good 3 or 4 minutes.
You never have to prepare any questions for him, do you? Just, how are you, Lucas? And he'll just cover everything.
Yeah, when it cuts to Lucas, I just tear up my questions. These will not be needed. But it's just so good to see. It felt like deja vu, I said last night. Won Bahrain in 2021. Does it again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he can keep that form going.
Now let's take a look at what happened yesterday around Bahrain. Plenty to reflect on. And Lucas Blakely, of course, had an amazing pole position and led from the front. And Thomas Ronhaar, welcome to F1 Esports, my friend. Had a bit of a shaky start, did the Haas driver. Tom, of course, being a massive Haas fan over the years. Of course, they were underdogs before, not anymore, it seems. But Ronhaar losing a couple of positions. Otmir stating intent and getting up to P3 early doors, Tom.
Yeah, well, he's the reigning champ. What you could say, if there was a weakness to Jarno, and it's really not a big one because he always gets into Q3 pretty much, is the fact that he just doesn't have that quali pace, but race pace, showing us again, and this time with a 50% race duration, showing the tactics he was using, which almost worked out for him.
Now, we'll be honest, Hayden, the first part of the race was a slow burner, to say the least, but it all kicked off around the pit stops. And I guess a big talking point was this one we're seeing on screen right now, the 2 McLarens fighting Ronhaar, and it all just absolutely kicked off, didn't it? Yeah,
indeed. This is the great thing about F1 Esports, is that they are, nose to tail everywhere. If you back out of an overtake, the guy behind is going to be ready to attack you, and that's unfortunately what happened to Thomas Ronhaar.
This switchback Ronhaar was so good, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. It was an amazing move, but it just all fell apart here. The little nudge there with Rasmussen sent him over the curb, and the curbs here on this year's game are lethal. You're going to lose control of your car, and unfortunately for Ronhaar, that's where his race fell apart.
Yeah, it was instant karma, unfortunately, for Ronhaar, making that small touch on Rasmussen, and Rasmussen saying, well, you're going to lose part of your front wing. Of course, all accidental, but that completely ruined Ronhaar's race, unfortunately. An extra pit stop needed, and then there was the fight for the lead. Otmir went different on the strategy. He said, look, I think I can overcut if I go an extra lap, and with all the chaos that went on, we then had Jarno Otmir having to defend from both the McLarens here. He wasn't too happy with Burman's move into turn 1, but no penalties dished out. The result stayed as it was, and then we see Blakely and Burman changing position, Tom, at the end of the race.
Yeah, and we've said it countless times. If you've got that 1-2 punch up there, you can get help from your teammate, and that definitely happened with Barry and Lucas. Whereas you got Danny Moreno, had some pit lane issues with him, didn't go to plan, so he wasn't able to help Jarno out. And how different that would have been if it would have been McLaren and Mercedes fighting for it.
Do you think Otmir could have won the race had it not been 2 McLarens directly behind him?
I think it's going to help him if there aren't those 2 McLarens fighting. It's much easier just to fight one of them than 2, obviously. But, that's a great start for McLaren, a 1 and 3, and things are looking good for them. But we'll see whether that continues over the rest of the season. They might start to trip up each other.
Also, big shout-out to Simon Weigang, getting some amazing points for the Aston Martin team, and P3 in the team's championship, an almost dream start for McLaren's shadow. Mercedes still picking up a healthy amount of points from round 1 as well. I think we may well have jinxed them, Haas.
Who? No, we haven't.
in the pre-show, and I think because from qualifying we were looking at then, and also during the race, I think, so I'm going to blame me and Alex as well, we were going, oh, look, if Ron Haar finishes here, they're going to get more points just from that race than they had the entire season.
I know. I feel like we did. We spoke too soon, but great race pace and quali pace from Ron Haar and Peter Stahelec, who did a great job. But as Hayden said about those kind of the old guard, you've got rookies in the mix there. Simon Weigand said afterwards he didn't feel out of place at the front of the grid, and the confidence is definitely there. And he's not a newbie, but he's just someone who's finally getting a bit of that confidence, and hopefully that form will continue.
Right, we've got some new faces today on the Quali Show, but we've also got Ariana down in Maranello. Ariana, what are you up to down there?
Thanks, Matt. Well, I have snuck my way into Maranello, the home of Ferrari. And as you can see, just behind me is where the Esports team find themselves. Let's go in, let's have a look. And rather conveniently, I've lined up a special guest. We have Fabrizio here with us. Fabrizio, thank you for letting me interrupt you. How are you? How are you feeling about yesterday?
I'm good now. Yesterday didn't quite feel good after the race. Obviously, after that mistake that cost us a lot on my side. But nonetheless, we have a lot of positives. The race pace is there. We just need, I think, a little bit more in quali. We need to extract a little bit more pace in quali. But I'm confident that in the next 2 tracks, the gaps will be closer, hopefully to our side. So now feeling more confident on the on the following 2 tracks, Imola and Silverstone on my side for tomorrow.
Fighting talk, feeling very confident. Is that how you feel about the whole season ahead as a team? Are you coming in with a vengeance?
Maybe not a vengeance. I think more redemption than anything. I'm obviously feeling confident because I know where I'm at. On my side in terms of driving. I think pretty much at the highest level I can be. Silverstone is also a better track for me, so I think we can build up from here. Event 1, the pace is there. We need to extract a little bit more, but we're gonna be up there.
And you're not racing today, but looking ahead to tomorrow, Silverstone. How are you feeling for that one specifically?
Well, Silverstone is always been a good track of mine, so I expect the gaps to be actually maybe the closest one of Event 1, because it's an easy track to drive, more than the first 2. So I expect the gaps to be closer, but I also trust that we did a good job in the preparation and that we're going to be on the top positions.
Oh, it sounds like they are feeling pretty good here, feeling pretty good in the land of Ferrari. Back to you, Matt.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Ariana. Great to see Ferrari HQ in action.
There was a lot of people in the background, weren't there? Just
I
busying
personally
themselves.
love Fabrizio through the window. that was amazing. He was waiting for that interview. But, of course, Donoso been part of this series from day dot. What did we make of maybe that slight slip-up he made yesterday in Bahrain?
It was a good qualifying session for him. You know, he out-qualified his teammate, got into Q3 and then the slip-up, unfortunately. But he's a driver who's kind of hopped around a lot of different teams over the years. So hopefully for him, he can find his feet at Ferrari and be comfortable there.
Yeah, he looked settled, didn't he? Through the window. He just stood there. He looks very settled. Now, what I will say about Fab and Ferrari last year, they only had 1 win, and that was at Imola. Now, I feel like I'm about to jinx something, but David Tonitza back into potentially the lineup if Fab's not in it. So, hey, they could get another win again here.
Good stuff.
I've jinxed it, haven't I?
You have, absolutely. Let's take a look at the social media reaction then, which, of course, everyone goes on Twitter to see what's going down. We've got Barry Buraman there. We had issues in the pit stop, which cost us some seconds, but still, first and third are pretty good results. GG, bro, Lucas. So any kind of storyline we were trying to say about, oh, who's trying to be number 1 at McLaren? It's all very, very nice and familiar, isn't it? And the thing is, they are all fighting for the same thing, both himself and Blakely. As you can see, your time will come, bro. Trust me. The issues made everything a lot more complex, but you've done so much of what you had presented to you. Let's reset and go again tomorrow, bro. Oh, it's so lovely, isn't it? It's happy families.
It's beautiful, and he's so concise on Twitter.
Yeah. It's because he's limited to amount of characters, isn't it? But we do love Lucas. Those two, do you reckon they'll work together really well, Hayden, as we look at Romain Grosjean as well, getting involved with Ron Haar?
Yeah, Ron Haar's going to love that, having an F1 driver tweet about him. But
would you have sent him the heart?
Do you know what? I would send a Roman a heart. I think so. I think he's a lovely bloke.
Would you, Tom?
I feel it's a little odd. But the point is, he hasn't had the best day, but Romain Grosjean, out of nowhere, just goes, hey, Thomas, you got this. And then Thomas says, thank you, Roman, and sends a heart back. There's so many other emojis. It's very...
What would you send?
Confident. Smiley face.
Huggy emoji.
Gritted teeth. Particular vegetables. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I'd send back. But you didn't get a chance to answer, Hayden, about McLaren. Do you think they can do it?
I think that it'll be very lovey-dovey at the start, but through pre-season, we've seen the two come together a few times. If that continues, or if that happens in the series, there could be a bit of love lost.
Because of course the money is made in the teams championship. So can you actually see, Hayden, even pride? Can you see a bit of pride on the line?
Potentially, the drivers want to win the drivers' championship, but the teams obviously they're focusing more on the money on the teams championship. So it's up to who's in house. Are they good at people managing? Can they keep those two under control? Because they're both very quick.
Ooh. It's very diplomatic. Yeah. I like it.
Balancing on that. I love it. Good fence balancing. I love it. Tom.
Yes.
I've loved having you on the show, but unfortunately, I'm going to relegate you now to your desk.
Are you kidding? I've had more notes been made. I'm ready for this season.
We might come to you if we really, really need you. So thanks, Tom. I'm going to let you depart because we've got a new guest, unfortunately. So go away.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, even the producer way is saying,
heart
please
emoji
leave.
back at you.
OK, bye, Tom. And now I'm going to introduce a new face to the Quali show, George Morgan.
Come on!
Right, so Alex Jakes' walk down the stairs was quite something. He's not fallen down the stairs. That's a good start, a good debut. I hear we have got a side-by-side comparison of the walk downs, so we'll go to that in a little bit. But George, welcome to the show. Of course, you are well known in the league racing community. The hair flick, there you go. Look. Alex Jakes has definitely smashed the hair flick, but I think that's because he used less gel than you, maybe.
Yeah, mine sticks out a little bit more. Gravity doesn't work on mine necessarily.
And we're not going to get any more analysis on that, otherwise we would have done a lap recap, maybe. But welcome to the show, George. Great to have you. You know a lot of these drivers on the roster. You've commentated them on before. Yeah. How does it feel to be on the Quali show, and you're looking forward to Imola later?
Oh, absolutely excited for this one. Obviously, Imola itself, a track steeped in history as well as tragedy, but nevertheless, the true heritage of Formula One really does burn bright at a circuit such as this. So the fact that we get to be here for this one is really special. And we've got lots of great contenders this year.
We do indeed. And Imola, of course, looking ahead now to today. It's not known for to be a massively overtakey track. That's a new word now. Yeah. But compared to Bahrain, where we had a bit of a thriller, didn't we? We always seem to have a thriller there at the start of the season. What do we expect from Imola? Is it even more important qualifying today? Is the quali show a bit more important than the race show? That's what I'm basically asking.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's one major overtaking spot. That long start-finish straight is going to be the best opportunity to get an overtake done. But these guys, as we saw yesterday, they're very patient. They're going to wait for their overtakes and wait basically until they know 100% they can get that move done. Around Imola, it's very difficult.
It is indeed. Now, if you haven't watched the quali show before, then you may not know the format. So let's take a look. And it is pretty much exactly the same as you would see in real-life Formula One. They have to compete and put their fastest laps in over the course of Q1, Q2, Q3 if they make it through. The 15 fastest drivers go through on Q1. Q2, 10 of the fastest drivers will then progress to Q3. 18 minutes, 15 minutes and 12, which provides a different sort of challenge. Of course, we've not always had this qualifying format in F1 Esports. What differences do the drivers face with that kind of format, George?
It's strategic, I would say, more than anything else, I think, heading into it. We saw quite a few of the drivers adopting the intermediate tyres in the first stint in Q1, which is something we tend to see, obviously, in pre-season action. Obviously, they like to try and get themselves adjusted to the circuit as well and get their eyes set on the circuit as well. But then, obviously, sending themselves out again on faster compounded tyres, faster tyres. And then, of course, heading into the race, 50%, another challenge in itself. You know, pit stops, I would say, are all the more important at that point. So, yeah, I'd say the strategy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some results as well that should be popping up behind us from last year. And there you see it. Joshua Dowu had an amazing race up until the very last moments, which was sad to see. We were really hoping for a great storyline there with the Dowu, but he still managed to secure a seat, has he not, Hayden? And will be looking like, you know what, I fancy a good result today as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure got to him last year, but this is a new season. He's got that, like you say, he's got a team again for another year, so he can come back, and maybe this is going to be a perfect redemption arc for him. Come back to Imola and take victory, what really should have been his.
Well, let's see. Let's take a look at the track map, if you're not familiar with Imola, to see what kind of challenge awaits the drivers. And it's a very narrow very punishing of mistakes as well. As yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see who makes through Q3. Of course, we had the likes of Marcel Kiefer, Nicolas Longuet, not even make it out of Q1 yesterday. Is that a trend we may well start to see again, George, or do you think they are the cream that will rise to the top eventually?
I think obviously their pace, it certainly defines them as top-end characters. I think obviously very good quality drivers. But I think one thing we've learned from last year is that while Josh Idawu was not necessarily a title contender, he was still able to perform at the best and live at the top last year. Obviously new regulations, the car is very different, but nevertheless, you know, the likes of Thomas Ronhaar, the new drivers certainly have a great chance to score big here.
Absolutely, and we've just seen the track map there, very interesting. Where do you see the time lost and gained around this circuit? Is there a particular, I mean, I love saying the corner Aqua Minerale, it's just probably one of the best corner names in motorsport. Is that the kind of corner where you lose a lot of time?
You can lose a lot of time there. There's a lot of places because you're on fine margins and you can easily just slip a wheel over that line. As we know, track limits on the game are very strict. Once you're over that, that's it, your lap's done. So that's where time can be lost. But also, there's a lot of grass and gravel out there as well. So one mistake, you're out there, your lap's done, potentially your qualifying's done too. And
the curbs are savage as well, aren't they? They do not like you when you try and ride over them, especially, you know, the chicanes, they're inviting to try and absolutely send it over there, but sometimes that's not the best way.
Not at all. They're quite high. I think especially when you go through Tamburello as well, you can't fit more than one car really through that segment. I mean, we see it time and time again, 3 cars going side by side through Tamburello. And again, you've got the chicane coming out of Aqua Minerale. When you take the straight, you've got the deep down descent into Ravazza. They're treacherous enough, but the chicanes, yeah, you're going to have to be very careful.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. And you should get involved as well with your questions and comments via the Twitch chat or hashtag F1esports on Twitter. Now, Hayden, I'm just going to ask you just straight up, who do you think is getting pole position?
Oh, do you know what? I want Thomas Ronhaar to get it. I think I'm going to go for the rookie for this season. I think he
my answers now.
Sorry, mate, it's mine now.
Shocking behaviour.
And I'm assuming you're going to go with the same, are you?
Well, he's taking it away from me now. You just spoiled it. No, it's all right. I would like Ronhaar to do it. I think just off the back of yesterday, his qualifying performance at Bahrain was superb. So yeah, I'm going to go with him.
And what a bounce back that would be if Ronhaar can get pole position. Let's take a look at the first page of the driver lineup. And a few changes to be mentioned there. One big one being David Tnitzer, former world champion, back in the seat at Ferrari. Of course, we heard from Fabrizio Donoso a little bit earlier. Of course, you've got Philip Risneda, Patrick Schipos. I've learned how to pronounce his name after DMing him last night to make sure I knew how to say that for the rest of the season. Simon Weigang once again in the Aston Martin alongside Bianca Lila. Anyone particularly stand out for you there, Hayden?
Tomek coming in for the Alfa Romeo. This is a guy who's been known around the F1 esports scene for ages, doing the pre-season and stuff like that, and he's finally turned 16, able to take part, and it's great to see him on track.
And as we look at the second page, George, anyone there a hot pick for you?
Well, some new changes. Matthias van Erven and Thomas Ronhaar. We spoke about how good Ronhaar is in qualifying. He was great yesterday. And of course, you've got McLaren, Mercedes and Red Bull not making any changes, but Daniel Haddad stepping in for Williams. I've got my eyes on that Haas team. They do look great. Matthias is a very good driver.
God, you sound like Tom Deacon. How much money is he giving you? They're both Haas fanboys. Love to hear it. But yeah, so that's the lineup for Imola. It's going to be quite tight. Well, what are we expecting the margins to be? Because you're new to the quali show, right? This is kind of a trend where if it's any more than 2 tenths separating everyone, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite a short track. What are we expecting, Hayden?
I think 2 tenths. I think it's going to be within that margin. Yesterday, I think we saw in Q3 a few drivers messing up on their final laps. The gaps were a little bit bigger in Q3, but I think these guys are going to be on it. They're so precise, and it's going to be, 2 tenths.
So when we see that bigger gap, which was a bit of a surprise in Q3, is that because you think that maybe they're pushing a little bit too hard, maybe they haven't adjusted as much to the F1 22 game, which has completely different characteristics to what we've seen before? What do you put it down to, George?
It could be a case of just getting used to the new system, but then again, they've been using these cars all pre-season, you know, but at the same time, it was a big surprise for me. I haven't seen anything like that, certainly since the start of the game cycle, but nevertheless, I think we'll see a different story here today. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the top 3 within a single tenth.
Bring it on. Tom Deacon, I can see you looking very energetic and lively over there.
Well, I was back on camera, that's why. I was making more notes. Interesting enough, last season for this particular race, Marcel Kiefer finished in last place. Not the start he wanted yesterday for Red Bull. I feel like there's going to be a bounce back definitely from him because we know how good he is.
Yeah, there's a few bounce backs to be had. Thank you, Tom, for the insight. We'll come to your notepad, I'm sure, a little bit later on when we need some more inside. It's a glorious, glorious notepad. But now we are full screen as some of the drivers are out there on intermediates. So if this is the first time that you're watching the quali show, it's not raining out there. They are just essentially doing a run. Are they just checking, literally, Hayden, whether their equipment works?
I love this, you know, just going out on intermediate tyres that I'm guessing, you know, well, they don't have the same session, so they can run these intermediate tyres, put wear on them, and they're not going to take them into the race because it's a different session. But also,
so they're just going out for bants.
Basically, just get a bit of a warm-up,
right?
but also test their equipment because they want to make sure their wheel's working to how, and nothing feels different to how it usually should feel. So the equipment's all working, the monitors and all that sort of stuff.
Do we think, you know, this is why the quali show exists, for crazy ideas, that we should have an intermediate championship for the first 8 minutes of Q1, where the fastest intermediate time gets a point? I think that would spice up the start of this Q1 session quite a lot, because we do wait and see. We'd have to wait quite a long time for this Q1 session to properly get underway. And the reason for that, George, is that they don't have an unlimited set of tyres available to them.
Absolutely not. And this is a way for them to sort of save a set and obviously make sure that they have the slick tyres, should we say, at their disposal for when they really need them, because obviously we've seen it time and time and again. The closing moments of qualifying sessions, certainly here in F1 Esports, are certainly all the more imperative. And we all know the fine margins of what could keep you in qualifying and what could, say, have you evicted out of Q1 or Q2, for example. So there's a lot of pressure on the drivers. It's management as much as pace. You've got to have them both to succeed here.
I find it amazing as well how the track evolution almost not as obviously as extreme as wet to dry, but the last one over the line always seems to get the best track condition. Whether that's just 100th of a second, that is, as we've seen many times in this quali show, all it may take. Jarno Opmeer made it out, I think, he made it through to Q3 by 2,000ths of a second, or I think there was 3,000ths of a second separating three of them. And he put a funny meme actually online, didn't he, of like him just drowning, just trying to stay in. But those are the margins where you're like, he's starting 11th, I've had a poor qualifying. How much did you miss out by? 1,000th of a second. How do you pick yourself up from that? That's not even a hair.
Well, that's the thing with F1 Esports, is that you can have a bad day in qualifying, be out in Q1, be down in 20th position, but your lap time could have been, what, 3/10 off? If I'm 3/10 off an opponent when I'm playing F1, that's not too bad. I'm quite happy with that, you know, I'll take it.
Against this lot, I think you'd be chuffed.
I mean, I'd be very, very chuffed with
3/10,
that.
you wouldn't be sat on this sofa, to be honest. You'd be on the cusp of getting out of Q1, I think. But Bianca Lila has actually set a lap time. That doesn't look like that was on intermediates, to be honest with you, on an 18.7. But Jarno Opmeer looks like he'll come straight back into the pit. Some of the drivers don't bother with this banter. They're not all out there on intermediates. Knowing me, if I was in this qualifying session, I'd go on intermediates, lock up into the wall, and then you just look like a bit of a mug, don't you? But yeah, it's really interesting to see. Josh Idawu's going to be really one to watch as well. Was it a one-off? Are we going to see it again? Because tracks can favour drivers. I know they are aliens, but I'm sure they have their favourites, right?
I'm sure they do. I mean, there's tracks that they practice relentlessly. Maybe it's a favourite. Maybe it's one they just genuinely like. I mean, obviously, Josh Idawu, coming off the back of last year, we all know he's fast. I mean, he's been on the scene now for such a long time, certainly trying to build himself up to this moment in F1 Esports. Obviously, joining the championship last year, but stepping into this one, I think AlphaTauri have definitely spotted something in him that they want to keep heading into this championship. But it's great to see this man as well, David Tanizza, out on track, obviously representing Italy at the Italian circuit as well. So I can see why Ferrari picked him.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to not see Tanizza on the starting grid yesterday. They decided to go with Richard Donoso. Of course, Donoso unfortunately making that error that meant that he did not score any points. Brendan Lee went through a bit of a charge through the field, went in a different strategy for a lot of people. We saw pretty much everybody bar one or two drivers start on the hards yesterday. Some of them going just past half-race distance, go on the mediums. We had the difference in strategy where Brendan Lee and a few others went on the attack with the softs. Which strategy is actually quicker, do you think, Hayden?
I think definitely, obviously, starting on the hards. If you go for the softs at the end, you're kind of risking like not a lot of wear on, or you're having to save those hard tyres early on. And also, you're gambling on what we saw yesterday with the likes of Blakely, Boromond, you know, Ron Har, all fighting, scrapping with each other, losing time. So those guys out in the lead can gain on them. So that's what you're kind of gambling on. So it is worth the risk if you're out of the top 10 and because in F1 Esports, they're so close that getting, you know, track position, just making those overtakes from 16th up to 8th is just not going to happen organically. So to do it in the strategy is brilliant.
I can see someone's hand up over there. Tom Deacon, what have you found?
Well, just interesting about Nicholas Longuet yesterday. Went with that different tyre strategy, same as Brendan Lee, and braking up from the back. Can this season be sort of a moment where we get the real form of the drivers? Maybe those nerves were creeping in yesterday, and quali today we see a little bit of that guard who are going to be dominant today. I'm just posing that question.
And it will be answered today, I'm sure, at some point.
By you, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hayden? George?
Yeah.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, cool. Why not?
Amazing stuff. I was going to pose a question, but now I've forgotten because your eyes are completely mesmerising. We are now waiting for everybody to come out the pits. We've got 11 minutes to go. And this is where there's really no point in setting a lap time. The track evolution, as we've mentioned, there's still some time to burn. Who do we expect to be potentially at risk here? Is there anyone? I know that obviously you've commentated on a lot of these, George. You've seen a lot of these guys have similar or different experience and whatnot. Is there anyone that you think would be very happy to make it out of Q1?
I would say probably Manuel Biancalila. I think will be an interesting one. I mean, he's competed obviously at the higher end of esports, but not necessarily on this platform. So I'm quite intrigued to see how he gets on. There's quite a few others as well. I think off the back of yesterday, Simon Weigang impressed me greatly. I didn't expect him to have the start that he did, but to get P4, it's almost like a phoenix rising from the ashes at this point.
Huge.
He's done absolutely sensationally. I think Matthias van Erven, with this being his first event, I think obviously it's such a huge test to step in for the first time. I think obviously, like Tom was alluding to with the nerves, that can obviously hit you at whatever point you start the season. You know, obviously this is Matthias' first seat in the rig for this championship. So let's see how he gets on. Hopefully he'll do well. Yeah, those are the main eye catchers, I would say. But it'd be interesting to see whether Idaho can carry on that form from last year.
Now, with the format change for this year, 50% races as opposed to 35 last year, do we think that opens up a little bit more of a window of opportunity for drivers that are out of position to make that up? And also with the fact that we did see a big difference in strategy, which, again, we haven't seen over the years in F1 esports. So my question is, yeah, OK, you might be out in Q1, qualifying is very important, but we've seen Longuet go on a serious charge. As Tom's holding his hand up, if you can't see on screen. I'll come to you in a moment, all right? I'm posing a question.
Yeah, no, but
I'm asking people that play the game, Tom.
Oh, pow!
Is there a bigger window of opportunity with this game, with the varying strategies, with the longer races, that it's not completely over in qualifying to maybe scrape a few points?
Well, yeah, definitely with the change between whether you do the softs or the mediums. The mediums is the more safer option. But if you go to the softs, the hards can, in all fairness, last pretty much the whole race. Like, you can pit, if you get a bit of damage, go onto the hards very early doors, and you can make it to the end. In F1 esports, you're probably going to be out of contention. But if you're good at time management, get those hards to the end, you can go to the softs, and yeah, we can see strategy changes. But I just feel like overtaking 10 drivers in one race, you're going to have a serious race to do that.
Now, my theory, which may well have been completely wrong, about all the drivers starting on hard tyres, is that because of how cold they are coming out the pits that none of them want to change onto them?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like an ice rink.
Yeah, you come out, if you go from hard to mediums, it takes maybe half a lap to get them up to temperature. You go from medium hards, it's taking, a lap, maybe a bit longer, and you really suffer. Same as if you go from, mediums to softs or softs to mediums, it's the same effect there.
Lovely stuff. Tom, go on.
Well, thank you. I found that fascinating for when I do really tuck into the game and play it myself. But no, I just feel like you're talking about that 50% race duration, and someone that hopefully this aids and helps. A driver we didn't see yesterday, and talking about the fact we are in Imola, the Italian Daniele Haddad, I feel like this could favour someone like that has pace. We know that how close these guys are, but someone who might be a bit more of a tactician. His last podium came in Japan 2020, and I feel like if anyone this might just favour and just really begin to show his potential and his talent, hopefully will be Daniele Haddad for the Williams.
Absolutely. You need the consistency in F1 esports as well. You can't just have one wonder moment. That we've seen how the points can get racked up very quickly by the front lot, and then they all just take the top 5-6 positions and they run away with the championship. Daniele Haddad has shown that he has the pace, he has performed, but it's having that consistency to do it week in, week out, event in, event out. Here's Nicolas Longuet, speaking of consistency, he doesn't want to be consistent because last time out he was knocked out in Q1 and he comes over the line with a 14.557 to be the fastest time we have seen yet. And finally, chaps, we're seeing some lap times.
We are, and we're seeing Thomas Ronhaar go quickest of everyone in the first sector. So the man that I had for pole position, I think you want to steal that one as well. We're watching on board with Joni Tormela, who's back, one of the old guard. He's going to be setting his lap time now and comes across the line, and it's 6th fastest for the time being, but 3/10 off, and as we said, 3/10 could be that sort of danger zone.
Yeah, 3/10 around here, it's quite a short track, so you're probably looking at the danger zone if you are that far off. Idowu coming over the line, P7 for Josh, that's okay in the mix. Ideally, George, you want to be taking just one set of tyres like we saw Lucas Blakely do yesterday.
Yeah, you don't want to waste any time, or certainly waste any rubber either. But interesting to see that Barry Burman and Lucas Blakely just crossing the line. 7th and 8th fastest for now. Jarno Opmeer now 7th. Thomas Ronhaar, though, at the top, 14.540. And sends himself over 100 quicker than that of Nicolas Longuet. So not bad at all, certainly with just over 5.5 minutes remaining. Danny Moreno still in 17th. Saipos out on a lap. A very busy circuit here at Imola. So they're going to be fighting for track space out there.
Yeah, Moreno putting himself under pressure again. I believe this was a similar position he had in Q1 last time out as well. So Ronhaar may well be in the pound seats like Lucas Blakely was yesterday and can just go in the pits, put his feet up and not have to go again. Save a set of tyres for another part of qualifying. And looking at those two McLarens, I don't think they're going to be very happy with that run, are they?
No, 2/10 off of what the Haas has been able to set there, so there's definitely going to be improvements that they're going to be looking for over the latter stage of qualifying, but this is a banker lap. They want to just get the time in so they don't have to put so much pressure onto that final lap, so I'm sure they're going to be ready to go when it gets to the end of this qualifying session.
How important how important is it to just take one set of soft tyres compared to two in this Q1 session? Does it give you that little extra advantage?
If you have the confidence to get through on those soft tyres, it's going to be very key because you're going to have that extra set in Q3 because that's when the pressure's really on. That's when the heart is going to be racing. I mean, these drivers, I'd love to see heart rate monitors on these guys because I have one on my stream.
I don't think Blakely should have one.
Well, I'm going round.
I think they'd get pulled out.
Well, that's it. I'm going round. And it's like 150 just doing a race, so I'm sure that these guys is going to be at the same level.
Mine's 150 doing this show. No, that would actually be an amazing addition to see the heart rate monitors because I see there are some streamers out there that do play racing games and have a heart rate monitor, and you can see when they're wheel to wheel, it just spikes up.
I've had mine at like 180 at some point.
Oh,
people
my
like,
days.
Are you still
Are you racing yourself? Like, you've got like the G-forces going on.
Right.
Amazing stuff. So, yeah, right now we've got 3 minutes 47 to go. Patrick Schipos there, 20th, and no time set at the moment. Is he going for another lap? He is. He's actually purple in Sector 1. Fastest of anybody. There's Aqua Minerale. What a corner name that is. Unbelievable, honestly. Need to give a pay rise to whoever had that particular idea for that corner name. And that's the chicane we were talking about, where you can't take too many liberties. You have to just try and think about how that'll unsettle the car. It's all about corner exit. I was speaking to Lucas Blakely before this season started. He was saying, Matt, the changes in dynamics of this car are completely different. It's all about the corner exit. There's so much understeer that just because you were fast last year doesn't mean you're going to be fast this year. No,
not at all. I mean, everything's different because the cars are different for one, and obviously the grip levels are different too. We saw a lot of the drivers in pre-season obviously trying to use the cars and take them very much the same as last season, but when they found that they were losing tread, losing grip, spinning a lot, and they had to pretty much readjust. Which has meant that a lot of the drivers have sort of had to strip back what they were doing before and sort of have to redress it again this time. So the likes of Jarno Opmeer, he might not be able to tackle this season the same way as he did last, certainly given the fact as well that the strategy will have to change due to the changes in race format and qualifying format too. So it's a huge test for everybody.
A lot of relearning to go on. Forget what last year's game was. F1 22 is a whole new kettle of fish. And I was actually looking at the timings there. And if we were to just get rid of the top 7 and then look at 8th all the way down to 14th, that's 400ths of a second.
Incredible.
What is going on? I mean, Ronhaar, Longuet, Tanitsa, Haddad, they're looking very good indeed. They are very solid laps to start this qualifying session. On Simon Weigang, we've been hyping him up. He's down in 18th at the moment, will definitely have to go again. Joni Tormela steps in for the first time, 15th. He's going to need to improve there, as we saw in Bahrain. Huge amount of improvements will be coming in this second run.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out as well, the Thomas Ronhaar and Nicolas Longuet, their names look a little bit lighter on the graphic, which I believe means that they've DNF'd. They're happy. They're happy with the times that they've set. They're confident, and they're happy that they're going to get into Q2, so they're getting ready for the next qualifying sessions. I don't think we're going to be seeing them again.
What's the benefit of retiring from the session? Anything?
You can go get a drink, maybe, you know, get a bit of fluid
don't have to do the in-lap.
don't have to do the in-lap, out-lap. Maybe just get yourself ready, and you're just confident that you don't need to, you know, take that extra set of tyres like you said earlier on, so it's going to be key later on in the qualifying session.
Interestingly, everybody else has thought, no, I'm not safe. Even Tanitsa is on an outlap from P3, so is that a little bit too confident from the top two there, George?
I was just about to say, it certainly is a declaration of confidence from Thomas Ronhaar and Nicolas Longuet. Longuet, though, qualifying far better than what he did yesterday, which is encouraging for him. Nevertheless, he gained 10 places in the race yesterday, so it certainly was a great showing indeed. But we're watching Caraton now, who currently sits very near on the bubble of elimination here at this point. 14th place as things stand coming out of Tosa. He's now going to head up towards the Piratella now, this very fast left-hander. Very easy to get this one wrong, but nevertheless, he's going to try and hook this one up before he then descends into Acqua Minerale. And he'll then ascend upwards yet again. So much undulation at this circuit. You really have to be on the ball, because it's not just the curbs you need to watch out for, but the dips in the circuit as well, because it can certainly unsettle this car.
So I was saying there's going to be improvements out there. I'm looking at my timing screen. Everything is green. There are purple sectors coming in from Idawu. You've got a purple middle sector for Kiefer, who's currently 6th. And, you know, if you're Longuet, maybe he's retired a little bit too early. I don't know. But Tanitsa did not think that he was safe, and he's 200ths back from what Longuet's achieved. Let's see what Caraton manages. P15 at the moment, comes over the line and ends up P9 with a 14.708. Joni Tormela will want to make an impression. Marcel Kiefer does. Goes to the top of Q1. Now we have Tormela over the line. P7, that's a very nice lap for Joni Tormela. Not troubling Ronhaar and Longuet, though. Porodi's only 15th for him. That may well be a Q1 exit for him. Biancalila now, P19. He'll be happy to get out of Q1. Does he? No, he does not. P18 for him. Patrick Schipos has not set a time yet, though.
No, rough ride, certainly at the moment for Aston Martin. Both cars currently in the area of elimination right now. We're currently watching Patrick Schipos come through the final 2 corners. He's got turns 18 and 19 to take. He'll come up across the line, yet to set a time. Can Patrick Schipos land a big blow just on the scalp of the elimination zone of qualifying? Freddie Rasmussen goes 10th fastest as well.
Idowu, he's out. Josh Idowu's not going to make it out of Q1. Danny Moreno, fastest in practice, comes over the line. Goes P11. That's Schipos now out. Idowu, Porodi's, Biancalila, Simon Weigang. What's happened to him out there? I don't think Weigang... Oh, he has, right at the death. P10 for Simon Weigang. That puts Caraton out in Q1. I thought for a second Weigang was not out there improving, but he did indeed. P10 for Simon Weigang. And, well, Idowu is going to have to be the big shot there.
Yeah, and on the limit as well, Jarno Opmeer, 100th of a second off being kicked out in Q1.
Are we going to see another meme? We're going to see another meme?
Yeah, we are. Of course we are. Very close there in qualifying. This is what we love to see, is that, you know, it's great to see that the Haas and the Alfa were very confident with their lap times, but and rightly so, they were clear by about 0.2 of a second there. But yeah, big shame there for Josh, and also for Tomek as well on his debut. I thought that maybe he would be putting himself a little bit higher up there. So that's going to be a big blow for him, but he needs to, you know, recuperate, get back into the race later, and just see what he can do.
Absolutely. Deep breath for Jarno Opmeer. That was a bit of a close call, wasn't it, for the reigning champ?
Only a fraction away from elimination. I think that'll be playing on their mind a little bit, Mercedes. Things haven't been as comfortable, I think, the start of this season as last year. They were certainly dominant in last season's events, but heading into this one, I think obviously the big notorieties are obviously Thomas Ronhaar. I think that, again, that qualifying performance is shining through. He's been absolutely sensational yet again. Obviously, being P1 at this point may not mean for anything heading into the race, but it sort of says to everybody, you know, I'm here to race, you know, I'm at the top, so, you know, come and get me.
We can take a look at some reactions from drivers, and I think this is Idawu, and, yeah, just being consoled there after such an amazing performance last year. Snatched away the victory potentially through one mistake, but That is going to be a big task, isn't it, for him tonight?
Nice massage, though. Good to know you get kicked out Q1, get a nice massage after that. So
that's in his contract.
Yeah, wonder what happens when they win the race.
Do we get massages as well?
We'll have to find out later.
I hate to break it to you, lads. It's not that good.
Oh.
Tom, I want to chat to you quickly. What did you make of everything?
A lot going on. It's quite interesting. But my biggest news is from Nathan AlphaTauri, team manager, commenting for me. It's not Josh Idowu, it's Josh Ido. So this is the biggest revelation for me. Out, and we've been saying his name wrong for a long time.
So it's Josh
Ido. Yeah, like pronounced triple E and then Do. Ido.
Ido. That's it.
Ido. So yeah, Josh. Enjoy the massage.
I thought he was the driver I didn't have to message asking how to pronounce his name.
I know. But
Ido.
But this is one of the things that I was hoping for this season, a proper LAN event of the good old days when we could just have the drivers here, chat, mingle, just find out those little bits of information. So we have to rely on social media. But anyway, the interesting thing is a lot of teams fascinated by the pace that McLaren and Ronar and Haas have set with these traction limited circuits. But I'm again gutted and disappointed for Aston Martin's Manuel Biancolila in terms of finishing rock bottom. However, yesterday moving up 6 or 7 places, just showing that coming to the race pace can be there. But quali, it's not easy, and Jarno Opmeer proving that point.
Quali is not easy. I want that in a plaque. Tom Deacon, 2022.
I'm gonna get it tattooed.
Love it. Right, Q2's underway, as you can see on screen right about now. And no such messing around. A lot of these will be on a used set of tyres. Of course, we have the likes of Ron Hart, who was able to save a set of softs, as was Longuet. Confident, we questioned it. What do we know? Nothing. But it also maybe suggests that the likes of Tanitsa wasted a set of new softs.
Yeah, the guts on that man to rock up first season and then just be like, yeah, I'll do one lap, this will be enough for me, and he's through as well. But yeah, Tanitsa, won here last time. I'm sure he's going to want to impress, and he got dropped in the first race, so he wants to show why he should have a seat for the rest of the season. I'm sure he's going to put out a good lap out there, unless I've unfortunately jinxed that.
Yeah, a lot of jinxes on this show, but, if you say enough things, then thankfully you can just say not everything jinx. It's fine. A question I posed yesterday, and I'll pose to you gents as well, is obviously, you commentate a lot on league racing, George, and you know these drivers. The one thing that I find fascinating is how do these drivers know when enough practice is enough practice? How do they know? Because I know they race each other a lot, but they don't show their full cards. They don't show their full pace until today. How do you know when to go, all right, 19 hours was probably enough today?
Well, I mean, you look at what they do in terms of what they do on the game, because it is recorded in places, but it's amazing. I mean, you look at Jarno Opmeer and what he does on Twitch as well. He's very active when it comes to doing, whether it be career mode or hot laps, or even doing a 2-player career mode with the likes of Jake Benham, his Mercedes teammate, which seems to have grown very popular recently. These guys spend a lot of time in the sim, and we do see it in league racing quite a bit with some of these names hitting the top end, the likes of Thomas Ronha, as well as Jarno Opmeer, who has been dominant certainly for the last couple of seasons. But Blakely and Burman have proven in that pre-season, that off-season, to show that they too have the pace. Lucas obviously more so recently, so I'd probably be expecting some very fast times from him today. But yeah, no surprises. Longuet again going to the top. 1:15, Thomas Ronha again, usurping him at the sharp end as well. A thousandth of a second.
Where have we seen that before, eh? Oh, Van Erven beats the pair of them with a 14.9. Daniele Haddad, 14.7.
Wow.
That's a very healthy lap time from Haddad. Perhaps a difference in tyres there. Jarno Opmeer filters in P6, make that P7 now as Barry Burmand goes to P2. We fully expect this order to shuffle a lot, but Daniele Haddad may well have gone early on a new set of softs there.
Yeah, maybe some of these drivers who aren't necessarily confident that they're going to get through to Q3 are going to be burning those tyres through this session to try and just sneak into the edge of that Q3 session. And then when it comes to Q3, they'll just try their best, see what they can happen. Maybe that's what we saw with Sebastian Job yesterday, that he didn't quite get that lap in Q3, but was able to, put in that sensational lap to get him P1 in Q2. So maybe that's what we're seeing from Daniele Haddad.
Prajneda currently 13th, no time on the board. Both Ferraris don't fancy at the moment.
Very quiet at the moment, and it's obviously you'd expect to go well here. It is home track, obviously making his first appearance this season. Won here last year. Then again, previous form doesn't necessarily resonate with the new cars, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, interesting how they've left it to the last minute. Obviously, Brendan Lee is quite a tactician himself. He does think a lot about his presence in qualifying and what he does during a race. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on him as to when he decides to pop out. Quite a few cars coming into the pit lane, but you've got to give credit to Daniel Haddad in his first event back, hitting the top end already in Q2. And again, it's his home race as well, so you know he'll be looking for a big result.
Yeah, I'm cautious with my happiness for Haddad's lap time just yet, because what was it, 0.4 I think we saw at the end of Q1.
Oh,
I fully expect the times to tumble, and hopefully Haddad can make it through after us, be like, yeah, P1, let's go. But right now, of course, just maybe a bit of a confidence builder. He'll have another go and see if he can make it into Q3. Tom, I see those glances. I see them in the corner of my eye.
I don't want to go on about who tipped him to do well, but no,
mate, it's still Q2.
That.
He's not out of Q2 yet. Come on.
No, this is a sort of, he's got to Q2, which is what is important to build that confidence. Only 9 points in total last year for Aston Martin, 18 points before that, 19 points in 2019. So in terms of points, it's gone downwards, but he's going to buck the trend. You know, what goes up must go down. What goes down must come up. Thank you. You're welcome.
Wow. Let's get that on a mug as well or something. You know?
We got a new whole line of merchandise.
Yeah, you can always rely on something. You really can. So here is David Tunitsa finally rolling out of the pits, wanting to go in the gap, it seems, for whatever reason there, Hayden.
Yeah, with the difference between Q2 and Q1, obviously in Q1 a lot of the drivers going out on those intermediate tyres, filling up the first, 10 to 15 minutes on those intermediates before they finally get those runs out in the last 5. Now we've got this big gap where drivers will get their first lap in, sit back for a bit, relax, and then go out right at the end. So it's not too bad to find that space and not trip up or even have distractions, because the ghosting system's on, so therefore you don't have to worry about clattering with another car, but it can always put you off if they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this way, there's no one around them, it's just them focusing and doing the best job that they can.
Lovely stuff. David Tunitsa wanting to make a mark now that I was going to say new kid on the block for Fabrizio Donoso, but you wouldn't think he's been here since 2017 with how fresh-faced he is. But Tunitsa, of course, you know, maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, the fact that he was not given the opportunity as a world champion from the past to start off in Bahrain, but he's got an opportunity here, made it out of Q1. Both the Ferrari cars out there, as you can see, with that amazing special livery that was run in Monza. And of course, this tyre warm-up phase as well, Hayden, it can't be understated how important that is to get those temperatures in a window that you can then get the most out of your lap time.
Yeah, this year you don't come out of the pits with the tyre blankets already on, so your tyres already up to temperature. They are stone cold. So you've got to come out of the pits, do the tyre warm-up and get them to around 85 to 90 degrees. You come out of the pits, they're around 60-ish, so you really have to get that wheel working, you know, put maximum lock in to get as much heat into the tyres as possible, so when you start your lap, you are there ready and not having to build it up as you go.
That looked like a little bit of a mistake from Tunitsa there. I don't know whether that was just a spectator cam, but it seemed as though he missed the apex just a tiny bit. Of course, we were speaking about how savage these curbs are. Of course, we're riding on board with Tunitsa, who is live from the Ferrari HQ, and we also spoke to Ariana a little bit earlier as well. I'm sure she is watching along to see how these two drivers do, and we'll hear from her a little bit later on as well. Tunitsa through Aqua Minerale looking pretty planted indeed, but the thing is, they can look pretty good, but I'm pretty sure every driver looks good when you ride on board with them. I was thinking, oh yeah, Ron Haar looks pretty confident, and he's 3/10 off what Haddad has done, of course, with slightly different tyres, it seems. But Tunitsa, how is he doing at the moment? No purple sectors for David. Brendan Lee has set a purple middle sector. Tunitsa's going to come over the line. Does he trouble the top spot? He does indeed. He goes fastest with a 14.619. Will that be enough, though, as the flurry of laps, George, are coming in? Yeah,
you're going to have more cars coming out on track, which will certainly make the track, I think, a little bit more sticky, a lot hotter. Brendan Lee goes fastest, a 14, as usurped by Longate, who's back again, a 14.372, but he won't be alone because we've got Barry Burman now heading down into Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. The question is, can he usurp that of the Frenchman Nicolas Longate? 1:14.372 to beat. Barry Burman in the McLaren, looking to try and tipple the top end. He certainly does, a 14.361 with Marcel Kiefer as well coming across the line, looking to also kickstart his campaign. Third place is where he goes, and a rampant ending to this session as Thomas Ronhaar. Can he do the same as what he did in the previous session? 5th fastest, not quite first.
Ooh, it's so close between 3rd all the way down to 7th now. Van Herven has slotted himself in P7. Freddie Rasmussen takes himself to the top of the timesheets with a 14.3. And you've also got Daniele Haddad with a P4. Make that P5 now as Otmir slots in with a 14.378. Look how close it is in those timings. It's a 14.3 all the way down to a 14.4. That's your top 10. Have we got anyone else improving out there at the moment? Brendan Lee looks like he is not going to make it through. Neither Tanitsa. Brendan Lee was at the top a minute ago. He's now out of Q2. Simon Weigang as well looks to be struggling. Is he improving out there? I do not think he is. He has finished his lap. So it seems to be Lee, Weigang, Tanitsa, Tormula and Presneda. And Tom, I saw that fist pump from all the way over here. Daniele Haddad, what a great performance from him.
It was actually a fly, but yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, Daniele Haddad, I mean, just going to show, and I love the numbers there, the 114.444 for Daniele Haddad. I just think, you know, when a driver's a little bit low on form and then to come back and show what you're made of, another driver that stands out for me for AlphaTauri didn't drive yesterday around Bahrain is Joni Tormula. So I'm fingers crossed. If it's helped with Daniele Haddad, my pushing them out here in the quali show, hopefully Joni Tormula gets to show why he has been around for a fair few years.
Well, you said that a bit late, mate. He's out of Q2, unfortunately. P14 for Tormula. But what I've noticed is Ronhaar and Van Herven, teammates, have done exactly the same lap time and made it through at the moment. So we've got everyone in the pits. And Van Herven, yeah, exactly the same lap time. Brendan Lee in the pits, P11. Simon Weigang, P12, David Tanitsa, 13th, Joni Tormula, 14th, and Philip Presneda, P15. Who will have enough tyres and enough time to go again?
Well, they've got enough time. I think they will want to go out around the 2-minute 30 to 2-minute mark is when is the latest that you can possibly go out for a hot lap. In terms of tyres, I mean, they'll have an extra set for sure ready to go, but if they use that one, they may not have an extra set for Q3. So this could just be a case of getting into that top 10 and then just hoping for the best in that Q3.
Yeah, I got a little bit excited there because Haddad went early. I was thinking it was all curtains, but we do have another opportunity for a lot of the drivers at the moment. But as it stands, Lee, Weigang, Tanitsa, Tormula and Presneda will be out. But how close does it want to be, George?
Oh, it's exceptionally close right now. I'm looking at the top end. Obviously, Rasmussen, I think, will be pleased with his current positioning at the top end. Obviously, Barry in behind him, Longue again. Otmir, with quite a major improvement on what we saw yesterday, I think, in terms of where he sat in qualifying at this point. But Joni Tormula, I think, will be wanting more, especially after where he finished last year. He was up at the top end, 4th place. He finished in the classification. But certainly Haas, they're going to need to keep on kicking. They're currently sat in 9th and 10th. Obviously, Ronhaar knows his pace. He knows where he should be. And you would expect him to be at the top end. Lucas isn't safe either. Currently sat in 8th place at this moment.
He's not. Very good point there. Blakely, if he improves by 100th of a second, he'll move up 2 positions pretty much. Or make 200ths and you have 3 positions. No, that is the tiniest of errors. Not even an error. You'll watch on board and you'll go, that was perfect.
Yeah.
It's
a fragment.
0.1 of a second getting onto the throttle a little bit earlier. It's ridiculous, the levels that these drivers are on. And they've said so many times after previous seasons how much this series takes out of a driver, how much effort, how much practice you have to put in, but also to deal with the disappointment of missing out on opportunities to make it through to Q3 by potentially 100th of a second. How do you build yourself back from that?
Yeah, Brendan Lee at the moment, the perfect scenario for that. He's currently on a 14.496. He gains, 5/10 of a second, and he's up there in P5. So it's so close. But yeah, you have to take a lot of effort to just be like, back yourself up. Okay, I wasn't too far off the pace. It was only a couple of thousandths of a second in it, rather than, in real life, we might see, okay, we were a 10th off, 2/10, something like that. So these guys know that they have pace, but the problem is, especially around here, you need to get in that top 10 if you want any chance of scoring big points in the race.
So, everybody is out, bar Freddie Rasmussen. Rasmussen, it's quite clear to see, has put in an absolute stonking lap time there. 0.5 tenth clear. I mean, that's gargantuan amounts in F1 Esports, isn't it? And he is very comfortable to sit and save a set of tyres for Q3, which is good for him, and it'll give another bite at the cherry when we get to the final part of qualifying. You can't imagine everyone's going to jump into the point 2, so Freddie Rasmussen feeling very comfortable indeed. Brendan Lee, George, take us through it.
Yeah, Brendan Lee now coming in towards Tamburello. Of course, had a turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3. You'll have another chicane to take after this one. You can take a little bit of that curbage on the exit of Tamburello. He'll now hit Villeneuve, just hitting the 50 and then just hustling his way through this next segment. He'll now make his way up towards Tosa, turn 7. Now this one you can get wrong. You can hear them putting the brakes on, a big squeal and traction as well, very important on the outset of this particular bend. He'll then make the ascent up through then towards Tosa. This next left-hander, very sharp. You can almost just lift off slightly, maybe just pepper the brakes just a little bit, heading down in towards Acqua Minerale, taking the full width of the course as he now makes his way out now in towards the next chicane. Now this one is very, very tight. You need to make sure you're precise at this point. He broke at the 50, taking all the curves, so much aggression underneath the suspension of this Ferrari as he now powers his way out to that particular point. He's got Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2 to take. Very easy to slide off into the gravel trap. It's so daunting on that right-hand side. Takes a lot of the curves on the right, sweeps in on the left as he now looks to head out now past the paddock and the pit lane on the right-hand side. In comes Brendan Lee. It's 11th fastest. Not good enough.
Not good enough at all for Brendan Lee. We've got purple sectors out there at the moment, though. Brendan Lee did set a fastest last sector of anybody, but Simon Weigang has put a purple first sector in, currently 12th. Philippe Presneda cannot make it out of Q2 as Lucas Blakely gets up to P2. Where does Tanitsa go? Only 15th. For the F1 Esports World Champion, Matthias Van Erven goes up to second. What a lap time from the Haas driver.
Oh,
make that another one. Bronhaar to the front, a .272. What a lap time from both the Haas drivers. Barry Burremand has made himself up to P2. Who is at risk? We've got Lee, who is definitely out. Presneda, Tormler, Tanitsa. Weigang is the only driver we are waiting for and can only get 11th. Weigang, a P4 in Bahrain. Cannot make it through to Q3 in Imola. Danny Moreno, it doesn't matter, my friend. You're all good. You're through to Q3. What an ending to that session. And Daniele Haddad did make it, Tom. You can say something, mate. You don't have to be mute.
Oh, I wasn't envisioning. Sorry, I was just taking a deep breath just to reflect on that. And I don't know whatever technique or style Nicholas Longe is going for, but he's disconnected. He's got somewhere to be. He's made it through to Q3, a return to form, because I know that chatting to him, he said, you know, a bit of inconsistency and finding that motivation for another year when you have all those disappointments from last year. But great to see. I tried as hard as I could to get Joni Tomala across the line for Q3. Look, it worked for Daniele Haddad. There's 50% success rate.
Well done, mate. I'm sure he'll be thanking you in your DMs. What I wanted to look at, I've got this iPad of dreams that tells me all the sector times. Weigang was looking very, very quick, but the last sector, he lost over 2/10 to the fastest last sector that we saw. May well be down to setup, but also that's got to have some minor, tiny error.
Yeah, well, I've also got an iPad. George, do you have? No. Sorry, mate.
I'm not important enough, obviously. I understand.
The show can only afford to. You've got cards.
I've got cards. Don't tell me Delta time.
Real time.
But yeah, definitely that final sector, and that's when you can see your delta. You could potentially see it's green. The heart's racing. You're like, okay, this is it. I could get out into Q3 here, and then maybe a little bit too much pressure. We know with Simon Weigang, very, very quick driver, but can sort of wear his heart on his sleeve sometimes. So maybe just the pressure got to him a little bit at the end there, and that's where it fell apart, unfortunately, in the last sector. But positives, you know, 11th place, definitely a chance to score points tomorrow, later on tonight.
Yeah, no, good. You almost got it. You almost got it. Now let's take a look at Tanitsa. We've got some track limits apparently, which cost him dearly. So into this left-hander, you want to be taking as much momentum as possible, and I mean, the tiniest of errors, and that is the reason why there was no improvement. As you can see on the delta time, it was pretty much level on what he'd managed, and there he is, Ferrari HQ, scratch of the leg, absolutely fuming. So there is the results for you, the top 10 making it through. Ronhaar, Burremand, Rasmussen, Van Erven. What a performance from him. Blakely, Otmir, Kiefer, Longate, Haddad and Moreno. We say goodbye till this evening for Weigang, Lee, Presneda, Tormala, and who was the last one who we can't see? I don't know. Tanitsa, of course, we just saw him and his track limit problems. Right, we now turn our attention to Q3, and Van Erven has to be the star qualifying at the moment, does he not?
Well, he's come into this one. I was actually quite surprised how good he's been. I mean, he is quick. He is very quick. There's no understating that. But Haas have got a good lineup this year. I mean, obviously Ron Haar has proven what he did yesterday. I mean, it was unfortunate, like I said, when he spun, obviously after that contact with Rasmussen. But both of them look so in tune with what they're doing in the car. And I think Matthias will be very pleased with that start to quali.
Oh, absolutely. Making it through to Q3 is a big achievement. If you did it once in your career, Hayden, I'm sure you'd be absolutely flying in F1 Esports.
If I was in Q3 here, God, just imagine that. I reckon if I did a race, I'd probably be lapped. Be the first person to get lapped in a 50% race.
So Q3 is underway, as you can see on screen. Not a lot of rush to go out there right now. I'm sure we will see a used run for a lot of the drivers at the beginning of this session, although Freddie Rasmussen's probably to note as someone who didn't have to go for an extra run at the end. So maybe that gives a slight advantage to the Red Bull driver to have another go. Would you change your prediction now after seeing Q1 and Q2, Hayden?
I don't know. I still feel like Ron Haar is quick. Every time I jump on that F1 game, I jump into time trial, his name always at the top. I can't get rid of him. He's always there. So I'm sure he's going to be at the front once again. He's on screen right now, and look at that wheel with the Haas sponsors all over that steering wheel there. Looking very relaxed going into Q3. Frederick Rasmussen, I would say, looks very relaxed, but he looks exactly the same even when he's driving, even when he's won.
This is actually a clip from last year when he just won.
Yeah, exactly. So Frederick Rasmussen looking calm and collected there. But yeah, we're going to have a little bit of just waiting for the drivers to get out for their first runs, for their bank collapse, and then those last few minutes, it's going to be an absolute flurry.
Good to see Marcel Kiefer in Q3. George, it was a disappointment for him last time out, but a great bounce back to be in the mix for tonight.
Yeah, I think he needed it. I think, obviously, it's going to make you respond whatever happens, because you don't want to be that guy who's at the back again. You know, it's just not the place to be. But no, he's come back again, and he's looking good. And it's great for Red Bull. Obviously, good sign of encouragement. I don't think he was particularly happy yesterday. Who would be? But he's back, and let's see what he can do in Q3.
He's the only driver who just didn't reply to my DM. But anyway, so I wish the best for him.
Mate, he's got a Red Bull fridge. No, they don't reply to you. They don't need you.
Mates of mine in my life from university, if they had a Red Bull fridge, they didn't reply to me either. So there's something in that. He didn't even make it to Q3 last year at Imola, so very noisy. Can we turn that down? Thank you. He didn't make it to Q3, so a little bit of return to form. And I tell you what, Freddie Rasmussen will be very happy to have him up there in the top 10, just to help them get as many points as they possibly can.
Very good point, Tom. We saw that last time out in Bahrain. The two McLarens were able to bully Otmir out the way, essentially. And we've seen in the past, Rasmussen and Kiefer work together so beautifully. Austria always comes to mind as the first one I think of, where they so just amazingly used their ERS to their advantage, were communicating so much, used ERS at different times to fend off the charging Otmir. You need your teammate in this business. You can't be doing it alone.
Well, let's look back at Brazil last year, because, of course, it was the grand finale. Otmir had the title pretty much in his hands, but all it needed was a bit of teamwork between Kiefer and Rasmussen in order to slow the pack down, if you remember, after the pit stop. That, again, shows how much of importance, Marcel Kiefer had at that specific moment. There goes to show that the teammate is a vital component in your championship charge. So, obviously, the likes of Barry Burman, Lucas Blakely, it's an interesting dynamic you've got there, because you've got two very equally fast drivers, and they're both effectively challenging for the title this season. So are we going to have a Senna and Prost situation, or who knows? Are we tempting fate here?
I like that, George. You've joined the quali show and you're setting those storylines already. We love to see it. There are 4 sets of teammates in this Q3 session, which will mean there's lots of games, I'm sure, that will be going on. 7:30 is when the evening show begins. Make sure to tune in with Tom Deacon. He'll be your host for the evening, as always, the hostess with the mostest and all that good stuff. So, yeah, we've got Barry Burman starting one of the first laps we'll see in Q3. Can't imagine this will be a fresh set of soft tyres. But it's always nice to get a banker in. I mean, it has to be an absolute worldie of a banker to be anywhere near what a fresh set would give you.
It does, for sure. But you want to put in the best possible lap time you can on these used or scrubbed set of tyres. You had that conversation.
Oh, don't say scrub.
Yeah.
Nicholas Hamilton
we don't
will
want to...
absolutely throw you off the set.
He was waiting outside the door to correct.
What would you have called it?
I would have called it a used set of tyres.
OK, cool.
Yeah, I would just gone used. But yeah, they're going to have to set the best possible lap time. But we saw with David Tanitsa, for example, invalidating on his fast run can easily happen to any one of them. So getting a banker in and a few drivers having that issue could potentially give you a few positions.
I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know if this has been mentioned. No Ferrari making it to Q3. I'm concerned about Ariana Bravo.
And the conversation we're going to have with her later.
Yeah, because she's at Maranello. So I think I might start thinking of some nice, easy questions, because if she is with the drivers, they're not going to be very happy at all, no.
No, especially Tanitsa threw away an opportunity to potentially get through to Q3. Nicholas Longue goes to the top of the 14.2. That's a fresh set of softs if you've ever seen that. Of course, saving from that Q1 session, and that just shows that's the advantage right there. Kiefer does not have that luxury. Neither does Burremand by the looks of those times. Van Erven, how's he doing out there at the moment? 10th and a half down on Longue in the first. And then you got 3/10 down in the middle. This is definitely a used set of soft tyres. Daniele Haddad, P2 at the moment on a 14.464. So has Haddad gone early? Because I can't imagine, unless he's brought his own set of fresh set of softs, I would have thought that was the only one he had left.
Well, maybe Tom Deacon was right to back him, because he's put the pace in 0.4, but it looks like maybe in this qualifying session we're going to be scraping into those 0.2s. Maybe we're even going to see a driver just nick into the 14.1s. I don't think we're going to be seeing any 1.13s, otherwise it would be a blistering lap from these drivers. But yeah, I think the 14.2s, 14.1s, that's what we're expecting to see.
Great lap from Freddie Rasmussen as well there, 14.272. So there is the fresh set of soft tyres being used. Danny Moreno slots in ahead of Otmir with a 14.664. We've got Lucas Blakely still in the pits, not bothering at the moment to put a used time on the board. Ron Hart, we all have eyes on him at the moment, but he is not setting any kind of sector times at the moment to be interested in. That's the first kind of round of lap times, if you include Longue and Rasmussen. It's a fight with them at the moment. Yeah,
and pressure's on Blakely here because, like I say, he did come back into the pit lane, didn't set a banker as such. Usually at the start of qualifying, certainly in Q3, you tend to put your mind at a little bit of ease when you set a banker lap, then you have something to measure against. But certainly at this point, not setting a banker lap is going to put oodles amount of pressure on Blakely.
And also, remember last year, this was a track that we've reflected on and gone, was this where Blakely really sort of fell out of contention?
Yeah, absolutely right. And the question is, can he pick up the ball from here and essentially put himself back to the top? But at this moment in time, not setting a lap is pretty alarming here at this point. Obviously, Longue showing the pace that we expected to see, certainly yesterday at Bahrain, but he's come back now and settled himself in P1 already in Q3. There we can see a lot of activity in the pit lane. Certainly, I believe that was a Haas there exiting out into pit road. There we can see Freddie Rasmussen being moved into his pit bay as well. So this is squeaky bum time now. We're getting into the smash and grab section of qualifying. So this is where things start to get a little bit fiery out there.
Squeaky bum time, smash and grab, they're all coming out, aren't they? Yes, Tom?
No, I was just enjoying squeaky bum time as a technical term. I feel like, here's the question to you guys. We know how good the pace is for Matthias Van Erven and Thomas Ronar. For Haas as a team, we know the money is in the team championship. We'd be tempted. Thomas Ronar sort of was with the big boys, as we would say. Would you just sit back and try and just make as many points as possible? Haas have never had this amount of money, potentially, if it
just in general. They've never had this amount.
No, but I'm just saying that it's like, you know, you've got the management side of Haas going, look, you know, we want you to do well, but if another race goes like it did for Thomas Ronar, that's missed points opportunity.
I think there's definitely that kind of level of learning, right, with the fact that they had points on the board in Bahrain that could have easily been secured. We've said many times they haven't scored many over the last few years. This was definitely an opportunity for Ron Hart to maybe not have gone, you know, side by side into a tricky section in Bahrain, where maybe he's learned, right, OK, I'll just get him on the next lap. Because it was great racing, don't get me wrong, loved commentating on it. But was it a bit audacious?
I think so. I think this is where the difference is. We've been talking about it a bit now, where we've got the experienced drivers and the new drivers that have recently come of age. They're able to take part in this series, and that's where the inexperience comes in. You know, they haven't been able to deal with the pressure. They've been able to do the pre-season. You know, there's not too many eyes on that. Time trial, you know, you can just put in laps as much as you want and put your name at the top of the board. But when it actually comes down to it, performing under pressure, this is where this is completely new for Thomas Ronhaar, and something that, yeah, they're going to have to speak to him and be like, look, we're glad that you're putting up the front, but let's get the points first.
Here we go then. The final laps of Q3 are about to get underway. We've got about half of them on out laps. George, Take us through it.
Well, here we go. We've got the last gasps of qualifying, 1 minute and just over 30 seconds to go. Marcel Kiefer, we've currently got in picture, lies in 7th, a 1:14.877. He'll be warming up his tyres vigorously for this very last stretch of qualifying. Nicolas Longuet currently holds the top-end spot, a 1:14.201. That's the time to beat if you're looking for that pole position lap time. Obviously, Freddie Rasmussen will have that firmly on his mind as things stand. Obviously, Ron Haar and Lucas Blakely not setting that initial time, which puts a huge amount of pressure on them, though if they can deliver at this last moment, there will certainly be some fireworks when we come to the end of this one. But Freddie Rasmussen now coming around the final corners now, and he'll be making his way down the stretch and very shortly tackling Tamburello for the first time. Let's ride on board with the Dane as he now makes his way through this next right now. He's got this long stretch, quite a long straight here at Imola here for this lap as he makes his way down in towards Tamburello, into the left, into the right, taking all the curbs, taking it on the left as well, heading through the next left. He's got another straight to take before he then hits the Villeneuve chicane. Comes in, just lifts off slightly, a downshift once, powers out now, takes a lot of the curbs again, heads up towards Tosa. This next left-hander, turn 7, and again just feathering the throttle slightly, powers it back down as he makes the ascent upwards, up the hill, very steep, this portion of circuit, and then whipping through the Piratella. This very fast left-hander again, just taking all the curbs still. Currently lies in 2nd place, 7th gear now, Aqua Minerale, comes out through it now, again takes a lot of the curbs, oh, wowee! A major spin, the pressure got to him. Heading out of Aqua Minerale, and now he's staggered in 2nd. It's all on Marcel Kiefer now, who comes through the next chicane. Incredible scenes here at this tail end of this Q3 session. We're into extra time at this point, as we're now looking on our screens at Marcel Kiefer. It's all on him right now. Longuet has gone purple in the 2nd sector. Ron Haar purple in the 1st. Marcel Kiefer, pressure on him now. Makes his way out of Ravazza 2. Down the straight, DRS opens up. Across the line, first fastest at 14.139. That's sensational. Barry Burman, 3rd fastest at 1:14.229. Purple in the 2nd sector, Longuet. Lucas Blakely goes 2nd fastest. We got more and more cars coming through. Longuet can't improve. 3rd is where he will remain. But what about the Haas? As now Thomas Ron Haar, no time set. It's P1. Sensational. At 1:14.103. And now his teammate Matthias Van Urban goes 4th fastest. Haas in the ascendancy as Jarno Opmeer also comes up towards the line. The Flying Dutchman, 8th is all he can find, with Daniele Haddad, Tom's best friend, comes up across the line. 7th is all he can get, with Moreno, Jarno's teammate. Is it going to be enough? I think that was 8th fastest.
Wow-wee, Thomas Ron Haar. I couldn't help but just squeal.
I had a feeling. that would happen.
Unbelievable stuff.
What a lap.
Yeah, you called it, Hayden.
From the Haas drivers as well, Ron Haar and Van Herven. Van Herven in 4th position. So Haas are going to be over the moon with that. I don't think they've ever seen their drivers up in 1st and 4th.
No, absolutely not. They're going to be buzzing, aren't they, Tom?
They are going to be very happy right now. That's the feeling in camp. They know they've got that pace, and we spoke about it just before Q3. It's just about that race craft now and trying to get as many points to stick, because 8 total team points last year is just not good enough to get off that bottom spot.
Right, let's throw over to Ariana now. Maybe the mood in the camp is not so great. Ariana, how's Ferrari HQ?
Yes, I'm here in the Ferrari camp, and actually you can probably see the mood isn't that somber here, actually. But guys, qualifying didn't go quite to plan. Tell us how you found that.
Well, we didn't go through to Q3. The plan was to go to Q3 and try and fight for pole position. That's what we're here to do. That's our job. That's the ambition of the whole team. We didn't achieve that today, so we're going to be working extra hard. We're going to get through tomorrow, try put best performance on the track for the race and qualifying and the race for Silverstone. And in the gap between event 1 and 2, we're going to be working our socks off.
Okay, and David, what about you? How did you find that session? We saw there was a track limits infringement there as well. How do you reflect on that?
Well, of course, it wasn't what we expected. The pace was there, as Brandon said. We could stay in P3 if we did the lap times that we were able to do. But mistakes are mistakes. And from my side, of course, the goal was to get into Q3. Just little mistake here and you're out. So it happened, and now we are going to work as hard as we can to recover positions in the race.
I've just heard you guys having your chats with your engineers, talking about strategy and how you're going to approach the race. I'm not going to give anything away, don't worry. But what is the plan for the race later? I mean, that's the most important part. Qualifying's done and dusted, but the race is still to come.
I mean, the plan's quite obvious. Try go forward. If I was going to be saying anything more, I'd be giving it away. And I think there's some lovely team principals watching this live feed right now. So I don't think it's worth saying our plan just yet.
Okay, not giving anything away. Guys, good luck for the race later. We'll be back here chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Back to you, Matt, in the studio.
Well, thank you very much, Ariane. I feel like Brendan Lee's been through the PR machine, hasn't he? He absolutely has. He's trained. He is a robot. I will not give away anything. Forward is all I'll be doing. Great to obviously see some of the reactions from the drivers. Of course, we miss them being here in the studio. How do you think Brendan Lee's feeling?
I think a bit bitter.
Really? How do you think he's really feeling?
Well, I think you could tell that things weren't ideal. I think off the basis of his response, but no, he knows that they can find more. I think there will be a high level of frustration on the faces of the Ferrari team right now. Tanitsa was well tuned into his car, not bad for a first visit this season. And I just think the pace was there. Obviously, those mistakes, the white lines, they can catch you out. Certainly around Piratella, very, very fast. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong, and it's all the more painful.
Beautiful segue, because we're now going to look at the crash from Freddie Rasmussen that cost him dearly. He was going very fast indeed, and it's just that tiny bit wide, right? We've been speaking about the savagery of the curbs for this entire quali show. He knows that he's washed just that tiny bit wide. He knows he has to keep his foot in, and not too happy at all, Freddie Rasmussen. To be fair, he has hit the camera way before, so still probably not the biggest reaction we've seen, but he knows, like, as much as he was P2 at the time, there's a lot of drivers behind him improving. He knows that's a big opportunity missed.
Yeah, as you rise up that hill, the curb there's two sets of curbs. The first one, there's a little dip in the middle. That's where you want to put your tyre, right there, and have your car over the middle of that. He just went a little bit too far to the left, unsettled the rear, bounced over those yellow curbs. And unfortunately, that's where his qualifying came apart. And it's going to be really frustrating for him, but still in the top 10 and potential to get points, especially after the penalty that he got yesterday.
Let's turn to positivity now. And Ron Ha, what a lap, what a driver, what a performance. Just absolutely brilliant. Of course, this is his teammate Van Erven coming over the line. And, yeah, there's the passion we love to see. And Tom Deacon is admiring the folded clothes in the background, even to this day. It's amazing to see. And that's how much it means to Ron Ha. He knows the amount of points that were lost yesterday. And I love the fact that we've got this fresh talent at the front of the field. How are they going to manage it? What are the learnings he's going to have taken from Bahrain? What do you see, George?
He's going to be a different driver, I think, later on this afternoon or this evening. I think, compare it to yesterday, yesterday would have been a learning curve for Thomas Ron Ha. I think, obviously, this is a new territory now. Pre-season aside, league racing aside, this is F1 Esports. Different kettle of fish altogether. So he knows he needs to come in there with a better head. I think, obviously, big points on the table. Haas have, I don't think, in their history of this championship, have been in this position before to have two drivers who are fighting in the top 5. They've got to take every opportunity here tonight.
Yeah, I think they've got a nosebleed how high they are up at the moment. It's amazing to see for Haas. Let's take a look at the top 10 then and how it all ended after Q3. And that mistake from Freddie Rasmussen, he was P2 at the time. P9 start, and he's got Danny Moreno and Jarno Opmeer for company in 8th and 10th. Opmeer finishing 10th, less than 0.2 of a second off the front at Ron Ha, which an amazing lap time from Ron Ha. So 7:30 tonight, we will be seeing this incredible race around Imola. I cannot wait to see how this will all unfold. Make sure you come and tune with Tom Deacon. He'll be hosting the show, as always. Thank you for watching this quali show. Thank you to Hayden. Thank you to everyone here, to George, to Tom. It's been an amazing quali show. We'll see you tomorrow. There's 3 races in a week, but we'll see you this evening as well. Bye-bye.